The sun is rising over a world that ended last Tuesday. It's a crisp, beautiful morning, the kind that usually signals a day of productivity and caffeine. But the coffee machine is a cold, dead plastic brick, and the silence in the neighborhood is heavy enough to crush a skull. You are standing in your driveway, blinking against the light, watching a very polite young man walk up your path. He isn't wearing tactical gear. He isn't kicking down your door with a battering ram while screaming about compliance. He's wearing a high-visibility safety vest that is startlingly clean, and he's holding a clipboard. This is the moment you lose everything. Not to a gang of leather-clad bikers looking for a Thunderdome, and not to a horde of zombies. You are about to be looted by a friendly bureaucrat named Kevin who is just doing his job. He smiles, apologizes for the intrusion, and asks if you have any stored fuel because the local dialysis center's backup generator is sputtering. You hesitate. You feel that tug of civic duty, that conditioning that says you are a good member of society. You point to the shed. And just like that, you didn't get robbed, you got processed. If that scenario makes you feel warm and fuzzy, like a productive member of a dying herd, go ahead and close this video. Go sit on your porch and wait for the FEMA truck that ran out of gas 3 states away. But for the rest of you, the paranoid, the cynical, the ones who know that temporary emergency measures is government speak for permanent acquisition, welcome back. We need to shatter a very specific delusion that Hollywood has implanted in your brain. You think the government seizes assets with tanks and soldiers. They don't. That's inefficient. They seize assets with executive orders, emergency broadcast mandates, and the crushing weight of social pressure. They use a clipboard and a smile to take the supplies you spent years accumulating, and they do it legally. Today, we are breaking down the first few categories of items the government will legally commandeer when the grid goes dark, and exactly how you need to structure your life to ensure those items disappear before Kevin and his clipboard army arrive at your doorstep. Let's start with the liquid gold. Fuel. Right now, there is a suburban dad somewhere watching this who thinks he is the next Mad Max because he has 4 red plastic jerry cans of ethanol-blended gasoline sitting next to his ride-on lawnmower. He thinks he's ready for the apocalypse. Here is the cold, hard reality check. Under legislation like the Defense Production Act or Executive Order 13,603 inches, the United States, energy resources are the absolute first asset to be centralized. When the supply chain snaps, that gasoline doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to critical infrastructure. Legally, you are no longer a survivalist. You are an unauthorized storage facility. The fatal flaw here is visibility and ego. If you have a 500-gallon propane tank sitting in your backyard like a shiny white monument to your own cleverness, you might as well paint a bullseye on your roof for the drone flyovers. You cannot outgun the National Guard, but you can outsmart the paperwork. The solution is decentralization and deception. Stop trying to be a gas station. If you have a massive tank, you are a target. Instead, you need to break your supply down into smaller, portable containers spread across your property like squirrels hiding nuts for a nuclear winter. Put some in the crawl space, bury some in watertight drums in the garden, and hide the rest behind a false wall in the pantry. But here is the trick that separates the amateurs from the survivors. You need a sacrificial offering. You leave 2 half-empty, dusty cans of gas right next to the garage door, visible and pathetic. When the requisition team shows up, you don't fight them. You sigh, you look defeated, and you hand over the decoy cans. You tell them, "This is all I have. I was saving it for the generator, but take it." They get their win. They check a box on their form and they leave you alone. Meanwhile, your actual supply is safe. If you aren't willing to lose a little to save a lot, you're going to lose everything. Next, let's talk about the shiny rocks, precious metals, gold and silver. This is the fantasy of every internet tough guy and finance guru. They think that when the dollar collapses, we're all going to revert to 17th century pirates trading doubloons for bread. Here is the history lesson you slept through. In 1933, Executive Order 6102 made it illegal for US citizens to own monetary gold. The government didn't need to go door to door with metal detectors. They just made it impossible to spend. If you walked into a bakery during the Great Depression and tried to pay with a gold bar, you didn't get a loaf of bread. You got a prison sentence. In a modern crisis, they won't hunt for your wedding ring. They will simply suspend the convertibility of precious metals or flag any transaction involving them as black market activity. And let's be honest, if you're one of those crypto bros thinking your cold storage wallet is gonna save you, good luck trading imaginary internet coins when the power grid has been down for 3 weeks and the only mining happening is for coal. If you are stacking generic, serialized gold bars, you are investing in a paperweight that could get you arrested. The workaround here is understanding legal perception. Historically, there were exemptions for collectible or numismatic coins. They weren't classified as currency. They were classified as art or history. So, stop buying the big, shiny bullion bars that scream, "I am hoarding wealth." Look for older circulated coins, junk silver, pre-1964 quarters. Things that look like dirty pocket change to a looter or a government inspector but hold silver value to a trader. You hide these in plain sight. A safe labeled "Golden Guns" is just a loot crate for the first person who breaks into your house. A dusty jar of pennies on a bookshelf, with the silver mixed in, that's invisible. You want your wealth to look like trash. If your strategy relies on a safe that takes 4 men to move, you are failing. Now, let's move to the most dangerous asset of all, the food on your table. This is where the psychology of survival gets dark. The biggest myth in the prepper community is the gray man theory, the idea that you can just blend in. But let me tell you, blending in is impossible when everyone else has lost 15 pounds, their skin is gray from malnutrition, and you are walking around with rosy cheeks, smelling like beef stew. You aren't blending in. You are glowing. You are a walking advertisement for a well-stocked pantry. When the shelves at Walmart go empty, governments enact anti-hoarding laws almost immediately. It happens in every war, every famine, and every pandemic. Having excess isn't seen as being prepared. It's framed as being unpatriotic. It's framed as theft from the community. And here's the kicker. The police don't need to find you. Your neighbors will do it for them. Mrs. Higgins next door, the sweet lady who waves at you every morning, she will report you. Not because she is evil, but because her grandchildren are crying from hunger, and she saw you carrying 6 bags of rice into your house 2 months ago. Hunger destroys morality faster than anything else on Earth. The seizure mechanism here is social pressure followed by a search warrant. So, how do you keep your calories without getting flagged? Architectural camouflage. Stop putting your food on open shelving in the garage like a showroom. You need to utilize dead space. Under the floorboards of the closet, behind the drywall in the laundry room, inside empty suitcases in the attic, or even inside hollowed-out furniture. But hiding the food isn't enough. You have to perform poverty. You need a public pantry that looks terrifyingly bare. Keep a few boxes of cheap pasta and some sad, dented cans of peas on your main kitchen shelf. When the neighbors peek through the window, or when the requisition officer steps into your kitchen, they need to see you struggling. They need to see empty cupboards. They need to believe you are just as desperate as they are. If you look comfortable, you are a target. If you look miserable, you are invisible. You have to master the art of the poverty pantomime. It's not enough to be prepared. You have to look like a victim. This brings us to the nervous system of the apocalypse: communication. You probably have a Baofeng radio you don't know how to program and a stack of walkie-talkies from Walmart. You think you're going to coordinate with your militia. In a declared state of emergency, control over information is priority number 1 for any regime trying to maintain order. The Communications Act of 1934 gives the president the authority to suspend or seize wire and radio communications. In modern terms, that means the internet kill switch and frequency jamming. But it goes deeper than that. If you are broadcasting on open channels during a lockdown, you are triangulating your own location. You are basically shouting into the void, "Here I am! I have electricity, and I have equipment worth stealing." The government doesn't need to physically take your radio to stop you. They just jam the signal. But if they see an unregistered ham radio setup, they can confiscate it as a matter of national security. That massive radio tower bolted to your chimney? That isn't a hobby setup. It's a lighthouse. It screams to every authority figure within a 50-mile radius that someone lives here who has electricity, organization, and a desire to be heard. You might as well hang a neon sign that says "Loot here." The government doesn't need to seize your radio to silence you. They just need to see the antenna to know where to send the collection truck. If you want to keep your comms, you have to go dark. Tear down the tower. Use attic antennas that are shielded by your roof. Use thin wire antennas that you can spool out into a tree line under the cover of darkness and reel back in before the sun comes up. And for the love of everything holy, put your electronics in a Faraday bag when you aren't using them. This isn't just about shielding them from an EMP or a solar flare. It is about silence. Your smartphone is a traitorous brick of glass and lithium. Even with the screen off, it is constantly shaking hands with local cell towers, pinging your location, and logging your history. If the grid is down but the emergency networks are up, your phone is a digital snitch in your pocket. If you aren't actively using a device, it shouldn't exist electronically. If you ignore this, don't be surprised when a drone loiters over your house because your iPad decided to ping a tower looking for a software update. Now, if you have survived the fuel seizures, buried your silver, hidden your food in the walls, and silenced your comms, you might think you're safe. You've outlasted the 80% of viewers who clicked off this video because they prefer the comforting lie that the government will arrive with blankets and hot cocoa. But you haven't faced the worst part yet. The asset the government wants most isn't your gas, and it isn't your gold. It's the meat robot standing in your shoes. Under Executive Order 13603, there is a specific provision for the allocation of civilian labor. That means you. If you have a special skill, if you are a doctor, a welder, a mechanic, a structural engineer, or just a warm body capable of swinging a shove, the government can legally requisition your labor. This is the nightmare scenario nobody talks about in the survival forums. You spend years planning to be a lone wolf, visualizing yourself protecting your homestead with a rifle and a cool tactical vest. But the reality is much more mundane and much more horrifying. You get drafted to fill sandbags 3 counties away because you made the mistake of registering your EMT certification with the state database. The irony of the modern world is that your skills make you valuable to your family, but they make you dangerous to your own freedom. In a collapse scenario, value is a double-edged sword. Let's look at a darkly funny comparison. Imagine a top-tier lifestyle influencer, someone who makes a living doing day-in-the-life vlogs and unboxing makeup. Now imagine a certified electrician. When the lights go out and the government starts scanning databases for useful personnel, who do you think they are coming for? The influencer is safe. They offer zero caloric value to the state. No bureaucrat is going to kick down a door and scream, "We need someone to do a TikTok dance about rationing." The influencer gets to stay home and starve in peace. But the electrician? The welder? The nurse? You are critical infrastructure. You are a resource. You will be pulled from your home, put on a truck, and forced to work in a triage center or a repair depot for the greater good, while your own family is left unguarded. So, how do you hide yourself when your name is already on a list? You practice the art of strategic incompetence. Be boring. Be unexceptional. If you have advanced medical training, keep it off your social media. If you are a master mechanic, don't put a sticker on your truck advertising your business. Be the gray man on the database, not just on the street. When the clipboard army comes around asking what you do for a living, you don't tell them you can purify water and suture a wound. You tell them you're a freelance consultant for a company that went bankrupt. You tell them you have a bad back and crippling anxiety. You need to be useful to your tribe, but absolutely useless to the bureaucracy. You want the government to look at your file, sigh, and move on to the next guy. It sounds cowardly, but remember, the goal isn't to be a hero for the state. The goal is to survive for your family. Heroes get statues. Survivors get to see their grandchildren. We have to understand that the government isn't necessarily the villain in their own story.
Panic.
They aren't sitting in a dark room twirling mustaches and plotting to steal your beans. They are panic-stricken managers trying to keep a sinking ship afloat by grabbing whatever buckets they can find. The problem is that you are the bucket. They view the population as a resource pool to be managed, not as individuals to be protected. When the system breaks, the system tries to fix itself by consuming its parts. You have to ensure you are a part that is too difficult to digest. This requires a shift in mindset. We are taught from kindergarten to be outstanding, to be certified, to be recognized. In a survival situation, recognition is a death sentence. You need to unlearn the desire for credit. You need to embrace the shadows. If you take nothing else away from this video, remember this core philosophy. Possession is 9/10 of the law, but anonymity is 10/10 of survival. It does not matter what you have stored in your basement. It does not matter how many rounds of ammo you have stacked. If the wrong person knows you have it, you don't own it. You are just guarding it for them. This applies to your neighbors, the desperate refugees passing through, and yes, the nice young man named Kevin with the government seal on his jacket. Silence is your best armor. Deception is your best weapon. If this knowledge saves your life someday, or at least keeps your pantry safe from the requisition squads, do me a favor and hit the like button. It confuses the algorithm and validates my deep-seated trust issues. Now that you know what they will take and how to hide it, you need to know where to go when staying home is no longer an option. Because eventually, no matter how good your camouflage is, the walls might start closing in. Click this video right here to see the only bug-out locations that actually work, places where Kevin and his clipboard can't find you. I'm Fallout Dude, by the way. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and drop a comment telling me what item you'd hide first. Oh yeah, and the music you're listening to right now? It was made by me. Please listen to it for a couple of minutes as the video ends. It allows me to earn a few extra cents to keep making these videos before the internet gets shut down for good. Thank you for watching, and stay safe out there.